Hello everybody and welcome to this part of Let's Play Final Fantasy. I'm Doug and I'm happy you're here. In the last episode, we made our way to the village of Elfhiem. I talked a little bit about the naming of the 4 characters in this game, and I kind of went on a little bit of a, I guess, overly sentimental speech kind of thing. But we have things to do. A lot to do, actually. We have items to buy, magic to get, and we have a cave to explore. So, let's get started. So in the last episode, I think I mentioned that there's a lot to get in this town. So you have to, if you want to get everything in one go, you're going to have to grind up a lot of gil and yeah, a lot of gil. And you'll get a lot of XP for your trouble, which will help out with the coming cave. So first off, we have the level 3 magics. We have Fyra, Hold, Thundara, and Fokara. So, I plan on getting Fyra, Thundara, and that's it for the dark magic. Reason being is that the white magic spells, or light magic spells, in this town for level 3 are really useful, and I want to get all 4 of them. So I'm going to hold off on getting a 3rd dark magic spell, so that way Walt can take up the extra white magic spell that I don't need. Because the nice thing about the red mage is that they can, because of that ability to mix and match, they can take that extra spell in case you really want it, or in case, in this situation, I want it. And I'm choosing Thundara and Fyra because they're the next stage in the Thunder and Fire line, and the really nice thing about these is that they hit every enemy on the field, which makes them a lot more cost effective in a way. Sometimes hitting one enemy is preferable, but these moves not only do more damage, but they hit more enemies, so it just makes combat encounters a lot easier. And next is a Hold and a Fokara. Now both of these can be useful in different situations. Hold can be kind of nice, but they just aren't as effective as other spells are, in my opinion, and the light magic spells, I think, are just kind of better. So that's why I'm going with those 2 and leaving the other 2 behind. And down here is the weapons shop, and I will be buying nothing, actually. I just checked my notes and I realized I don't need to get any new weapons. Alright, so this is the armor shop though, and I will be buying stuff from here. I will be getting 1 set of iron armor. I'll be getting 4 copper armlets. I will be getting 1 iron shield. I'll be getting 4 leather caps. And I'll be getting 1 helm. Alright, there we go. Now, I don't feel like I need to explain why I want to get better armor. It's just, I feel like it kind of makes sense. Armor in this game doesn't have extra effects like it does in like other RPGs or Final Fantasy games, where like sometimes it might add like you're immune to poison with this armor on or something like that. In this game, armor just basically increases defense, and same with most weapons. Now, this is a level 4 dark magic. The nice thing about, or I don't know if it's nice, but the interesting thing about Elfhiem is that it contains both level 3 and level 4 spells to purchase. So it's very easy to lose gil if you don't know how much you need. I planned out everything in advance, so I can just take the ones I need and get going. So from here, I'm going to be getting Sleepra, Haste, and Blizzara. So, Sleepra is the next step in line from the sleep spell, but this one will have a chance to put oh, nope, I misspoke. Yeah, Sleepra has the chance to put one foe to sleep. I'm not quite sure on the stats of it. I don't know if there's another sleep spell earlier. I kind of drawing a blank on that one. But if there is information on that, I'll just put a little box somewhere in like the top corner explaining the stats of sleep. But it is going to be useful because putting an enemy to sleep makes it easier to hit them. I think it lowers evasion. I'm not quite certain. Haste is useful because I think I mentioned it earlier, but it doubles the number of attacks an ally can get. And I talked a little bit about it in the first episode, but speed is damage is calculated by both the number of hits you take and the damage you deal. So the warrior is a slower character, so they'll typically only get 1 to 2 hits in per every 3 to 4 that the monk or the thief might get in. And so the monk and the thief might not do as much damage on a 1-to-1 scale compared to like the warrior, but because they're faster, they tend to do more damage. So haste is a good way of making characters like the warrior do a lot more damage, and the monk and thief do even more because of it. Confuse is a decent enough spell, but it's a little too unreliable, and in my experience with this game, the reliable damage dealing spells are a lot more useful and a lot more time efficient, because a spell like Fyro or Thundara is going to do damage immediately, whereas Confuse might confuse an enemy and they might hit one of their allies, and even then that damage might not be as much as using a more direct attacking spell. So that's why I'm not going to be going with Confuse, but I am going with Blizzara. Blizzara is like Fyra and Thundara, the next step in line for the Blizzard spells. It'll damage all foes on the field with ice damage. And that's it for the dark magic. And up next we have the light magic. I think this is 4. Yep, okay. So, for light magic, I am going to be getting Poisona, Nullfrost, and Vox. So, Poisona is kind of self-explanatory. It cures poison, which is really useful with a lot of enemies in the mid to late game. Eventually, you'll reach a point where you can buy more antidotes than you need. But at this point, Poisona is a kind of useful spell in my opinion. It's just really nice to be able to not have to worry about getting poisoned in the middle of a fight or having to haul yourself back to town after getting poisoned if you're out in the field grinding. So that's why I'm going with that. Fear is not one I will be going with, but it drives all foes away in terror, basically making them flee. The chances of it working aren't the best. I don't have the exact stats with me right now, but it's one of those random number generated ones where the odds of it working are up to dice roll in the game's statistics, kind of like Confusion. So it's not reliable, and I don't feel like it's a spell worth having, especially where all of your spells are where you have to pick and choose a very specific set of spells and you're limited on what you can take. So I'm also getting Nullfrost, which reduces ice damage by half. Now, I didn't have to use the null spells in my first playthrough of the game, but it's just nice to have it, because there will be bosses that have a very specific elemental type damage, and it might come in handy to have. And Vox. Now, Vox will cure Silence. Silence prevents a character from using spells. I don't foresee needing this spell too much, but it will be nice to have just in case I need to use it on Walt. And later in the game, some other characters do get access to magic, so who knows. It's definitely a toss-up between that one and Terror, I believe. Gosh, I can't believe I forgot the name of it. Yeah, Fear. It's definitely a toss-up between Vox and Fear. And if you really want to go with one, I would recommend going with Vox. And if you would rather just save the Gil, you could go with neither. I just feel that Vox might be useful because if I'm being totally honest, when you're recording video games like a Let's Play like this, what can go wrong typically does go wrong. So I just want to have it just in case. And for the last set of magic, we have the level 3 light magic. We have Cura, Daira, Null Blaze, and Heal. So, for this, I am going to be giving Cura to Lily. I'm giving Daira over to Walt. Oh, I guess Walt can't learn that spell. Oh yeah, I guess Daira is among the spells that the Red Mage can't learn. The Red Mage is very selective on the spells that they are able to learn. So I guess Daira is one of those spells. But I will teach him... Oh. Huh. I guess I don't have enough gil. I must have calculated the math wrong a little bit. But no worries, because I will, with the power of editing magic, just pop back in here when I have enough gil to buy the rest. You remember that thing I just said a couple minutes ago, or a couple seconds ago for you, where I said what can go wrong will go wrong? Yeah, that just happened. So, yeah, we're going to buy Null Blaze for Walt, and we're going to give Heal over to Lily. Now, oh gosh, I am really sorry about that. Not that it matters to you, because, you know, for it, you guys will just literally be like a second, but I don't know, like, for me, it's like that moment where, like, you know, you're hanging out with your friends, and then you're in line for food or something, and you go up, and then it's just like, you find out like you're $1 short, and it's just like that awkward moment of crap, what am I doing, what do I do now? And then it's just like, you know, your friend's like, here, let me cover it, and it just becomes this like really awkward thing. And I don't know, it's kind of like that. And then, like, you know, like a couple minutes before, you're like, okay, no, don't worry, you don't have to buy any food for me, I can cover myself. And then it's like, oh crap, I can't cover myself. And it's kind of like that, except, you know, it's not with you and your friends, it's me and potentially people on the internet who I'm never going to meet. So yeah, okay, anyways, spells. Okay, Cura, next in the spell lineup for Cure, restores HP to one ally, in contrast to the Blizzara Fyra spells, which do like an area of effect. Cura is just gonna do more healing than the regular cure spell, and instead of over a wide area of effect. Daira will deal damage to all undead foes. That is an area of effect spell, kind of similar to the spell Dia, I think it was. It's the next in line of that spell line. Null Blaze reduces fire damage by half, similar to Null Shock and those spells. And then Heal restores a little HP to the entire party. This is an area of effect spell. So basically it'll do slightly less than a cure spell, I believe, to the entire party for less MP. And it's a really useful spell to have. It makes combat encounters go a little bit smoother, considering that you can heal the entire party quickly after, in the middle of fights, essentially, instead of having to waste a lot of MP on cure. It's more cost effective, and sometimes it's better just to cure that one ally, but if everyone's just like a little below max HP, or if everyone just leveled up and they're below max, then that means you don't have to waste a potion and a cure spell on it. So it's just kind of, in the moment, what do you need, and it's good to have the option, at least in my opinion. So with that is everything we will need. I hope, you know, what can go wrong will go wrong. But anyways, time to get started on why we're here. So I mentioned that there are things going on in Elfheim, and so if we go to the castle here and talk to one of the guards, we'll get an idea of what's going on. So, the guard's going to say, Astos' curse has put our prince into a deep sleep from which he cannot awake. Please, will you not attempt to aid our slumbering prince? This is the Elven Castle, and if we go into this room here, we can see that the prince is zing out. If we talk to the doctor here, the healer, the prince has slept under Astos' curse for 5 years now. There must be some medicine that can rouse it sleeping. But where? But where indeed? So, we are, we're not going to explore the castle just yet. The castle had some nice little goodies, in here after we complete a certain chain of events. If you had been playing the game on your own, you might notice that there are some areas in certain dungeons, like the Chaos Shrine that we went to in the first episode, and other places like in Castle Cornelia and in the Elven Castle here. There are doors that are locked and chests that will be locked. After completing the chain of events that starts with visiting the Elven Kingdom, you get an item that opens up these doors and chests and get you some nice items that are, at least in my opinion, I think, worth the effort of going back and getting them. You just have to, you know, go and get them, and you have to go through a weird chain of events that can be a little difficult if you don't know where you're going and what you're doing. Thankfully, in the age of the internet, there are guides from people who have done this before. So, we've got our stuff, and now we have to go get a crown. The evil elf that they mentioned before, we have to get a crown that he's looking for, so we can get a crystal eye, so we can get a jolt tonic, so we can get nitro powder, so we can get going in our quest. The medicine that the healer was talking about is that jolt tonic. So we have to get a crystal eye and we have to get a crown. And if this makes no sense to you, it probably didn't make sense to people playing this back in the 1990s. So, alright. So first thing we're going to want to be doing is heading west. So while we're here, I think I'll show off some of the new spells. This is Thundara, and no need to show off any of the new light magic spells. Oh boy, I hope nope, okay. Yeah, I'll definitely try to show off one of the newer spells eventually. I don't want to use the second level spells too much because they do cost more MP, and I do want to save as much of that as I possibly can. And we're just going to keep heading on this way and fighting every enemy we come across. In my opinion, I feel like, and I think I talked about this, I talked about this before, but I feel like when playing Final Fantasy, you really should try to complete every combat encounter you can, because Square Enix games, Square Enix is the company that develops and publishes the Final Fantasy games, amongst a bunch of other role-playing games. They tend to be very difficult the farther you get in the game, and like the game expects you to, you know, fight enemies even if they are kind of simple and might be a little tedious at some points. So that's kind of why I always prefer to fight enemies when they're easy now, so that way, you know, the game kind of stays easier. This point in the game, though, is at least what I consider to be like kind of the hardest point, because it's where there's going to be like a lot of jumps in difficulty and where you're really going to need to grind to buy better equipment so you can survive. But once you get going, and you'll reach a point where you just get enough gills accumulated where buying the equipment is a lot easier. It doesn't require grinding, and the game becomes a much smoother experience. Okay. We We are looking for a cave. I think that might be it. I played this game a little while ago. I played this game about a year ago, so my memory isn't the freshest. But I'm pretty sure I'll know it when I see it. And maybe I'll get a show off. Yep, okay, yep, that's heal. So it doesn't do a lot, but it does, you know, just enough. There we go. Yeah, for those of you playing yourself who might want to oh, I will get to show off one of these spells tonight. Cool. So those of you playing yourself who might want to do some grinding, the ogres and the ogre chief. They're scary. They can hit really hard, but they give a lot of gil. And when I was grinding to get what little gil I did get, they're actually a really big help. So if you're playing yourself, I'd say that they're pretty nice. At least to fight anyways. So, Marsh Cave. I already started going, but if you head north, you will be able to find treasure, but going south is where you are supposed to go to find the crown. So it's basically your call. I feel like going after the extra treasure will be worth it, because even if you can't use the equipment that you find in the chest, the experience more than makes up for it. And you can always sell extra equipment if you get it. And that was the spell Daira. So as you can see, those ghost enemies, which actually can be kind of scary, considering that they usually have some really scary magic. They're made a lot easier with one of the Dia, or in this case the Daira spells. And yeah, and I'm really happy to have it, and if you're playing the game and if you can get one, I definitely recommend getting Daira at the very least, even if you skipped over Dia. Alright, so, on basement 2 here, we had the possibility of getting 680 gil out of one chest, 620 gil out of the other, a dagger, and a broadsword. I don't remember which rooms contain which, so we'll have to see. I'll try to be as quick as possible, and I'll, you know, jump cut if I feel like it's taking a little bit too long, but I want to try to, you know, show off as much of the dungeon as I possibly can. Cool, we got the dagger. The dagger is not going to be very useful. We're past the point where a character is going to need it. I'm pretty sure if a character is going to be using a dagger, I already gave it to him, but it's one of those items you can sell. This is 680 gil. Awesome. 2 more to go in this area, and then there will be another floor for us to explore. Nope, not that way. One word of warning. I don't know if it's in this dungeon or future ones, but the game does feature. Okay, we got a broadsword, and we got 620 gil. There will be some occurrences where walking in front of a chest will spawn certain enemies at a very specific point in time. So basically, if you walk in front of that chest, it will be the same set of enemies every single time. It's the same type of enemy. So essentially, it is it's like a guaranteed random encounter, but it's not random. And while they can be kind of scary, they're reliable grinding spots. So if you can easily take down enemies that spawn in front of those chests, I would recommend doing it. Like I said, I don't know if there are any in this dungeon, but it's just something to be aware of. And since I'm showing me going to all the since I'm showing off me visiting all the treasure sets in a dungeon, you'll be the first to know if there is anything like that. So, after this fight here, I'm going to double check the map to see where the ooh, okay, yeah. So the green slimes, okay, yeah. They look a little different than they do in other games, but typically you want to try to use some sort of magic on them. I'm going to do that, and let's do some healing. There we go, we got one of them. I don't think I'll ever not be amused by the fact that the monk is just, you know, hitting guys, and that's how he wins. There we go. Alright, I've seemed to have lost track of where I am, and instead of me just running around confused, I'm going to quickly check the map, so I will be back in a second. Okay, I am back. So, like a dummy, I lost track of where I was on the map, and, I just got ambushed. Okay, yeah. So, I definitively know after double checking the map that the second floor that we are in is its own self-contained floor, and you do not go to the third floor from here. Some dungeons have a layout where you're going from. There are two routes to take. One that is full of treasure, but doesn't lead you to your end goal, and the second, which is usually devoid of treasure, but leads you to the end goal, either the boss or the item that you're looking to get in the dungeon is there. So this is not one of those dungeons, and when we do go to the third floor, it'll be both in pursuit of the crown and the extra treasure. If it seems like I don't know what I'm doing, it's because I do try to do some research ahead of time, like, you know, plan out a route through dungeons, know the locations of where everything is and all that, but I unfortunately don't have a lot of time to record stuff, so like I'm busy with school, so I might do the research you know, one day, and I assume, oh, I'm going to have plenty of time to you know, research this and then come back to it later. But unfortunately, like, I'll do the research and then think I'm going to be coming back to it like a day or two later where everything's fresh in my mind. But oh, empty chest. Yeah, sometimes you'll come across empty chests. I don't know why they have them in there. It's just kind of a waste of time in my opinion. But anyways, like I was saying, sometimes I'll do research, but then I end up getting so busy that I have to put off recording for days or weeks or months at a time, and I end up not remembering everything, not the way I would intend to. So sometimes I'm looking at my notes and I'm like, how did I expect to remember any of this? So we got a phoenix down from the chest. Cool. Oh yeah, so on the third floor we can find a phoenix down, 295 gil, a copper armlet, a cottage, and 385 gil. Now, I'm pretty sure there will be some chests or doors that we cannot open at this particular point in time, and there will be some empty rooms as well. Alright. That item I was talking about getting, that will open up the, we'll be able to open up those doors. That will be an example of what I was talking about. Now, I'm not certain if it's like that in this dungeon. I believe it is. But if it is, we'll get to it when we get to it. Okay, we're going to keep fighting. Nope, we're going to use... This is one of those cases where using the single target spells might be the better option. Oops. Okay, we're gonna heal, and I'll either use poison. Yep. Okay, we'll use poison right now. There we go. Oh, yeah, there are a lot of empty rooms. I don't know why they, I mean, I guess I kinda understand why they, Cool, Gil. Alright, I'm going to try to finish a sentence now. I mean, I kind of understand why they decided to, put in empty rooms in there. It's to make it feel like, you know, this is a cavern, you're exploring a cavern, and, you know, sometimes there'll just be empty areas in it. And I guess it's just looking at it from the lens of someone who's been playing video games for so long. Like, video games nowadays, like, there's never like an empty, never an empty room. Cottage, cool. Like there's never an empty room. Plot points are like every time you go to a place, there's always something to get there. You know, like there's always a little goodie to reward you, and it's one less thing to get. Okay, and it's I wouldn't say like, you know, we're spoiled or anything, but it's definitely one of those weird things where, you know, we expect like, you know, our time to be rewarded with something. Wow, hammer does a lot more damage than I thought, but yeah, trying to complete a thought. Oh yeah, basically like, you know, like a lot of times in games we expect like, okay, I'm doing this so I have to get something, like I'm going to this area so it's not going to be completely empty for no reason. But I guess back in the day, like this, and like, I mean, pointing to another game, Legend of Zelda, like if you don't know what you're doing or where you're going, oh hey, this is one of those random encounters I was talking about. It's not random, it's by going on that specific tile in front of the chest, you will always fight two of these psycho demons, which are called Mind Flayers if you're familiar with D&D or just later Final Fantasy games, and I'm pretty sure they're called Mind Flayers later on in the game too. So we're gonna do that. These guys shouldn't be too scary. They aren't actually bosses, just sort of mini bosses, but they do hit hard and they do have some scary spells, but they go down quickly, so that'll be nice. Here we go, and if you're really pressed for gil and you want to get some good items, you can get them from here. And we got the crown. Awesome. So I'm going to finish up here because there's still one more chest for us to open down here. And I kind of want to finish my little tangent I was going on. So like, there's like this idea that like, you know, when we're playing video games, we have to be rewarded for like our experience. Like, we have to be rewarded for going off and doing something. And when we aren't, it feels weird, like there's something wrong with the game. And like I was saying, like with Legend of Zelda, you know, it's like the original Legend of Zelda, like if you had no idea what you were doing, you would just get completely lost. I mean, I remember playing it as a kid on my Game Boy, because I had like the Game Boy Advance like port of it, and like I literally had no idea. I was just wandering around for hours not knowing what to do. And it wasn't until like I played the game later on a computer, like a ROM of it, where I like had to where like I had an online guide. I'm like, wow, there's just so much like I didn't know about this game that I would never have been able to figure out on my own, and there were people who did, and like that just astounds me. And to get back to the point, it's like, you know, games were made different back then, and you know, compare it to nowadays, where, you know, we expect, okay, I'm playing this game, I better get rewarded. Like, you know, if I'm going to this obscure location in a dungeon, I want to get, you know, my item, even if it's just a couple gold pieces or something. You know, we expect to be rewarded. And it's not just like in video games, it's like with a lot of like movies too. Like a most recent example is Star Wars: The Last Jedi. I don't know if you've seen it, but if you haven't and you're worried about it, spoiler warning. But it came out December. Okay, yeah, this door has been bound by the Mystic Key. So this is one of those locked doors that you can't get into without the key we'll get, which we'll get by, you know, jumping through hoops and delivering items and stuff, which we get by doing that stuff with the crown, which we have to get out of the dungeon to do. Anyways, back to Star Wars: Last Jedi. So Star Wars: Last Jedi, the Canto Bight plotline. Lots of people hated it. I didn't mind it so much for the reason that, you know, in movies, and it's the whole idea of we expect our time to be rewarded. Like, the whole idea of, like, you know, time basically being wasted, and like there being like a false lead that, you know, what you go after isn't what you get all the time. I thought that was okay. Like, you know, like everyone was so like personally offended by Canto Bight, but I felt like, you know, I thought it was a good addition to the story. You know, like maybe it could have been handled a little bit better. And, you know, like, I'm not saying, like, if you had an issue with the Kanto Bite storyline, you're, like, you know, a bad fan or something. Like, you just didn't get it. But, you know, like, I just feel like it's kind of like one of those things where it's like, oh, hey, you know what? We expect our time to always be rewarded. Like, there's never any, like, wasted time in, like, a story or an experience, like a video game or anything like that. I mean, it's just a thought. I might sound really pretentious saying that. I probably confuse some people. I often have trouble getting my point across, so if I did come across as pretentious, I'm sorry, and if you feel like I was trying to say something interesting and I just didn't get across well, I am sorry for that too, and I hope I can explain it better at a later date. But now, we just have to get out of here. So I think I mentioned at a point in time earlier in some episode where I said, you know, we'll fight the same looking enemies over and over and over again. Eventually, we'll just get to a point where like they recolor the sprites for the characters, and we're kind of at that point now. It'll get a little bit more apparent later, but like, you know, the green worm thing, we fought purple ones right outside the town, and the skeletons we just saw, like, there were like 3 different colored skeletons in the same fight. And we are almost out of here. Now, I do believe there's this spell. I don't know if yeah, no, I don't have it on me, but there is a spell that will let you teleport back 1 floor in a dungeon, and you can keep doing that until you basically teleport outside the dungeon. I think it's a higher level spell, but it's one that you can use instead. But you know, fighting your way out of the dungeon, it gives you more XP and gil and stuff, and just, you know, kind of like my broken record, getting that, doing that, fighting the fights and not running away from them, it's beneficial in the long run. So that has been part 5 of Let's Play Final Fantasy. We got the crown, and now we have some other stuff to do. We'll pick it up from here next time. Thank you all for tuning in. I hope you have a good one. My name is Doug, and I'm happy you're here. See ya.